and welcome to today's webinar, Livaux can ameliorate cold and flu symptoms. My name is Elizabeth and I'll be your moderator. I hope everybody is well today and that everyone is doing fine in your home or in your country. So I work here in the marketing here at Anagenix, and I'm very excited to be hosting today's session. I'm also very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Emma Graham. I'm sure for many of you, you're familiar with her. Emma is our product champion for Actazine and Livaux. She's been with Anagenix for over 5 years, where she's accumulated a lot of good experience on Actazine and Livaux. She worked on the first clinical and is currently working on our second clinical. Emma has also put together our first white papers, and actually, this is hot off the press, but Emma is also integral to Livaux being selected as the finalist for Prebiotic Ingredient of the Year USA. So yay! So we just got the news yesterday. So very well. So before I hand the mic over to Emma, I just have a few housekeeping items to cover. So first, today's webinar will be available on demand, and we will also be posting it on Livaux blog page at livaux.com. So it is a new blog, and we write articles, we post past webinars, lots of information to check out. So do log in. You may also download today's presentation at the handout tab where you are at. So you can download that, and we would also love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have questions for Emma, please feel free to send it through the Q&A tab in the menu bar. So we will be answering questions at the end of the session. So if we do not get to your question, and if we run out of time, just know that we will write back to you separately. So we will definitely follow up. We also have a short survey that will be sent to you at the end of the session. So just give us your feedback and please fill it out. And so I'd also like to encourage you to share this webinar on your social media networks. So without further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Emma. So Emma, over to you.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome all to today's webinar on Livaux and immune health. So let's get into it. So this webinar relates to Livaux, our gold kiwifruit product, which sits in our digestive health platform of products. But as you can see here, we have products for respiratory health, such as berry chi, and also other products in the pipeline which cover off other health platforms such as blood glucose management, like Pheolix. So if you have any interest in any of those areas, then please do get in contact with us to find out more. You can get in touch through the channels that brought you here, or you can check out our contact details at the end of this webinar. So right now, let's just focus on Livaux. So as I mentioned, Livaux sits in our digestive health platform, but as we'll discuss today, it also has immune health benefits. So just to set the scene, I'd like to give a brief overview of our immune system. So the key role of the immune system is to protect the host from harmful or potentially harmful agents. So things like viruses, bacteria, toxins, chemicals, anything foreign that the host may encounter in its environment. And the immune system will respond by its recognizes self, that is what is from the host, i.e. our own cells, the chemicals we produce, sort of important nutrients that we might consume, and even our good gut bacteria, and it will respond to non-self, so what is not from the host, anything foreign. And the immune system is highly complex. It functions as a single entity, but in order for us to understand it, we divide it into the innate or non-specific immunity and our adaptive or specific immunity. So our innate or non-specific immunity is the immunity we are born with. It's called non-specific because the response is not specific to any invader. It will respond to any invader and it won't remember that invader. So its response is always the same. And this includes external defenses, which try and prevent harmful agents from getting in. These are often referred to as the first line of defense. It includes chemical and physical barriers such as our epithelium, that is the skin and our digestive tract walls, There's saliva and tears, which contain antibacterial enzymes to help break down bacteria. We've got mucus, which lines the respiratory tract and our digestive tract, which helps to trap dirt and microbes. And we also have our stomach acid with its low pH and our good gut bacteria helping out too. If something does get past our external defences, then our internal defences, or the second line of defence, is used as a backup. So say, for example, you get a splinter, breaks through the skin, our first line of defence, and that allows a pathogen or bacteria such like to enter. Your body will respond by initiating an inflammatory response through the action of chemical signals called cytokines. And these help to quickly bring blood and cells to the site of invasion. And some of these cells will include your phagocytes, which are a type of white blood cell. And what these guys will do is they eat other cells and are using a process called phagocytosis. So what they'll do is identify and respond to pathogens or infected or dead or damaged cells, and then they bind the pathogens before engulfing and killing them. The other part of the immune system is that adaptive or specific immunity, and also be called our acquired immunity. And this is developed over time. It's based on having exposure to things like diseases, viruses, or vaccines. And if the innate, if the innate immune response is unsuccessful or needs a little bit of help in eliminating a pathogen, then the adaptive immune system is activated via antigen presentation. Now, the main components within the adaptive immunity are your lymphocytes. And these are your B cells, which are produced in the bone marrow, and they'll produce antibodies to help fight off pathogens. And antibodies are specific to and bind a particular antigen on a cell or pathogen, which makes it harder for the cell or pathogen to move, reproduce, and infect cells. And then that makes it a bit easier for them to be neutralized and engulfed by phagocytes. Then we have the T cells, which mature in the thymus. And there's a whole variety of different types of T cells, including your cytotoxic T cells, which directly attach to and kill pathogens and virus-infected cells. So with the adaptive immune system, once a pathogen is identified as non-self, the specific responses to that pathogen are produced and adapted to eliminate the pathogen or infected cells. And this can result in the development of immunological memory. So you have memory T and B cells that remain, and that means they've got that future attacks are met with a stronger and faster immune response. So an example of the immune system at work is when we get a cold or flu virus. Now, a virus is an infectious particle. It's not a cell like bacteria. Common examples include the rhinovirus, which gives us the common cold, and also influenza, which can give us the flu. So these viruses tend to attack our respiratory tract, our nose, throat, lungs, and what they'll do is enter through our nose, our mouth, or even our ears. And they're usually caught by transmission from other people through direct contact or through respiratory droplets, so from a sneeze or cough. And this can sometimes be picked up from the air or even off a contaminated surface. So that's why it's really important to wash your hands. It seems to be the big message at the moment, and try not to touch your face too much. Now, if you do become infected by a virus, your immune system will hopefully recognise that there is an invader and start to deploy the defences mentioned earlier. It's actually this immune response that is responsible for all those horrible symptoms that people experience with the cold and flu, though. So inflammation, that's that influx of immune cells. This can actually cause pain. So that's why we get sore throats when we have a cold or flu. Mucus production is ramped up to try and trap the virus. And that, of course, can lead us to those runny, congested noses. We're trying to cough the mucus out of our lungs, and we sneeze as well. Fevers are caused by the action of cytokines. They will raise our body temperature and kill off, to try and kill off some heat-sensitive invaders, and this leaves us hot and cold. And cytokines are also thought to be responsible for your body aches and muscle weakness that you experience typically with a flu. and this could be a way of the immune system telling the host to rest. Now, a key part of our immune system is our gut. The gastrointestinal tract is part of that first line of defense. So just going back to this diagram to remind us, these are those chemical and physical barriers to try and keep invaders out. And the main physical barrier of the GI tract is created by the epithelial cells that line the gut, all along here. And these are interconnected by tight junctions, which regulate the permeability of the gut. And there's also a good layer of mucus. And the mucus is produced by goblet cells within the epithelial layer. The mucus is a really good physical barrier to microbes, and studies of mice with no mucus have shown that these mice develop severe inflammation of the colon as the gut bacteria and other things are able to come into direct contact with the epithelium. And there is also a chemical barrier within the gut, which is created by inflammatory molecules such as cytokines, antibodies, and antimicrobial substances such as defensins. And approximately 70% of your immune system is actually situated in the gut in the form of gut-associated lymphoid tissue. So this is a nice schematic representation of the tissue. As you can see, we've got antigens from the invaders, so like your bad bacteria, viruses, toxins that we encounter on a daily basis, and these are in the intestinal lumen, and they will interact with the various immune cells and tissue that is situated here to initiate immune responses. So for example, there are microfold or M cells, which are associated with your Peyer's patches and the isolated lymphoid follicles. And what these guys will do is transport antigens across the epithelial layer and then deliver them to the antigen presenting cells that are situated there, such as your dendritic cells. Dendritic cells can also protrude out into the lumen between those epithelial cells, and they'll probe the environment searching for potential threats. And there are T and B cells as well situated in these areas, which can participate in those adaptive responses discussed before. So not only do we have our own immune system fighting off invaders, we actually also have our friendly gut bacteria, such as Faecalibacterium prusnitzii, which can also influence the immune system. In fact, our commensal bacteria are required for the maturation and development of our immune system. They influence the differentiation and activation of immune cells, for example. And once our gastrointestinal tract is colonized, our immune system learns to differentiate between the good bacteria, so they are identified as self, and the bad or pathogenic bacteria, so they are identified as non-self. And the importance of our gut microbiota in our immune system has been proven in studies using germ-free mice. So for example, these studies have shown that the immune cells in these mice are compromised. They either lack some immune cells altogether, or they're missing some key components of the cells, such as activation markers. And a good example is in a study which showed the number of Peyer's patches in germ-free mice was significantly reduced, and as a result, there was a decreased level of antibodies and the number of plasma B cells. And further evidence for the importance of our gut microbiota and immunity is that if our gut microbiome is disruptive, then it can have some severe complications for our health. And dysbiosis has been implicated in host susceptibility to infections, hypersensitivity reactions, autoimmunity, chronic inflammation, and even cancer. And the intestinal wall acts as a dynamic barrier that isolates our body from gut microbes, but it allows desirable interactions to take place. So when we are healthy, with a balanced microbiome, epithelial cells and associated immune cells will recognize pathogenic microbial products, leading to antimicrobial responses. The cell wall can also respond to metabolites produced by the gut microbiota, such as short-chain fatty acids, and these ones, like butyrate, serve as energy sources for epithelial cells. They can modulate their metabolism and also help to support the integrity of the epithelial barrier. So that's that first line of defense. And many of the microbial metabolites are also allowed to cross the epithelial barrier to be absorbed into the blood. through which they can reach other tissues in the body and influence the development, maturation, and function of immune cells in different organs, including the brain. Now, increased permeability of the gut epithelium, however, may affect our health, and it's often referred to as a leaky gut. So things like dysbiosis, stress, toxins, poor diet, for example, these may all lead to increased permeability. So what happens is normally the tight junctions here only allow desirable nutrients and water to pass through. However, they can become loose under the conditions like dysbiosis and stress, and that means that larger molecules, bacteria, toxins, etc., are able to pass through and reach into the bloodstream. So this can result in a cycle of inflammation and changes to the gut bacteria, potentially leading to various symptoms and health concerns, such as things like fatigue, headaches, inflammation, joint pain, inflammatory bowel disease, IBS, diabetes, and even food allergies. And many of the health conditions that are associated with the leaky gut are considered autoimmune, or at least contain an autoimmune component. So the clear take-home message from this is that maintaining a healthy digestive system is vital for supporting overall health and the body's defense against disease and infection. So how does gold kiwifruit and Livaux fit in all of this? Well, research has shown that gold kiwifruit is able to enhance the immune response, can control inflammation, and also help to ameliorate the symptoms of colds and flus. And Livaux has also been shown in vitro to affect changes in the number of immune cells and the production of antimicrobial compounds. We've also been shown to help reduce inflammation, support mucus production, and we know from our clinical research that Livaux can support a healthy digestive system. So there have been several in vitro and in vivo studies on the effect of whole gold kiwifruit on immune responses. So for example, gold kiwifruit extracts have been shown to have direct antimicrobial effects, inhibiting the growth of E. coli in an in vitro fermentation model, and also inhibiting Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes in bacterial cultures. And kiwifruit, which has been digested and fermented in vitro, is also shown to increase the production of gastrointestinal defensins, such as human beta defensin 1 and 2, and these are antimicrobial peptides. In another study, pre-treatment of CACO2 cells with digested and fermented kiwifruit significantly reduced the intensity of barrier damage. And this effect, as well as the effect on defenses, is thought to be regulated by the production of short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate. In a further study, aqueous extracts of gold kiwifruit was able to reduce the levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, such as tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-1 beta, and this was in lipopolysaccharide-stimulated human monocytes in whole blood. And then in a mouse cholera vaccination model, kiwifruit extracts significantly enhanced intestinal mucosal and serum antibody responses to vaccines and promoted interferon gamma and natural killer cell activity. So moving through to some clinical studies on gold kiwifruit, the effect of gold kiwifruit on the symptoms of colds and flus in 2 susceptible populations, the elderly and preschool children, has been investigated. So both studies were conducted during the winter months when colds and flus are most prevalent. In the first one, this was a randomized crossover study where 32 people over the age of 65 were asked to consume either the equivalent of 4 gold kiwifruit or 2 bananas a day for 4 weeks. And this was followed by a 4-week washout before switching to the other fruit. And the primary outcome was to determine the effect of the duration of and severity of cold and flu symptoms. And this was measured using a survey that participants were asked to complete. And then secondary outcomes were measured using blood samples to determine the effect on antioxidant status, immune function, and inflammatory markers. So when asked about the duration and severity of the symptoms of colds and flus, the duration of sore throats and head congestions was significantly reduced when gold kiwifruit was consumed. So on average, a sore throat and head congestion lasted 5.4 and 4.77 days respectively when eating bananas. That was compared to only 2 and 0.9 days when eating kiwifruit. And then in terms of severity, the severity of head congestion was significantly reduced, and there was also a tendency for runny nose, blocked nose, hoarseness, and chest congestion to be reduced in both duration and severity when consuming kiwifruit. And kiwifruit consumption also led to significant reductions in a marker of lipid peroxidation, which is an indication of reduced oxidative damage. In the second study with the preschool children, 66 preschoolers attending daycare were given either 2 servings of gold kiwifruit or 2 servings of banana 5 days a week for 4 weeks, and then they were switched to the other fruit. And their parents were asked to record their symptoms and any cold or flu-like illnesses using a validated questionnaire. And the overall incidence of a cold or flu-like illness as reported by their parents was considerably reduced by nearly 50% when the children ate kiwifruit compared to banana. And the parents also reported that the children had a better appetite, they did not feel so unwell, had more energy, cried less, and had less severe headaches and sore throats. And that reduction in head congestion and sore throat is a common theme in both studies. And the studies suggest that the gold kiwifruit components can beneficially modulate the immune system by strengthening our natural defences, and we'll discuss how they may do this shortly. And looking at research we've conducted on Livaux specifically, in vitro studies, Livaux was subjected to simulated gastrointestinal digestion and fermentation. Then to evaluate changes in gamma delta T cells, and these are a unique population of T cells that defend mucosal integrity and coordinate immune responses. We isolated peripheral blood mononuclear cells from the blood of 3 healthy human donors and exposed these to the digested and fermented Livaux. And the number of gamma delta T cells was significantly increased in the presence of Livaux. Then to evaluate defensin production, so those are those antimicrobial peptides mentioned earlier, human intestinal cells, CACO2 cells, were exposed to samples of the digested and fermented Livaux. And the presence of this led to increased secretion of beta defensin 2. We've also conducted in silico modelling. This has shown that the leucine present in Livaux can stimulate the production of mucin in the gut. And there are good levels of vitamins and polyphenols that can reduce, which are antioxidants. Obviously, these can reduce reactive oxygen species to help reduce inflammation. And then we also have our clinical studies which show that Livaux can increase stool frequency to support healthy bowel movements and can also increase the abundance of the good bacteria, Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, both of which can help to support a healthy digestive system. So from all this research and what we know about the components within gold kiwifruit and Livaux, we can piece together how Livaux can help to support immune health. So Livaux and gold kiwifruit contain a potent combination of bioactive components to positively influence our immune system. So for example, we have folate and vitamin C, and these can affect antibody production, thereby enhancing the adaptive immune response. So folate is an essential nucleic acid that is used as a building block for antibodies, as well as for cytokines. And vitamin C can induce increases in antibody production. Now, inflammation is required to get immune cells quickly to the site of infection, but it can also have some damaging effects to the host cells and tissue, particularly via reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress. And oxidative damage can also result in changes to signaling within and between immune cells. So in Livaux and gold kiwifruit, there's antioxidants in the form of vitamins C and E and also polyphenols, and these help to mop up reactive oxygen species to reduce those damaging effects of oxidative stress. Polyphenols can also inhibit pro-inflammatory cytokines, for example, tumor necrosis factor alpha and interleukin-1, thereby reducing inflammation. And then there is dietary fibre within Livaux, for example, the kiwifruit pectin, And what this does is feeds those beneficial bacteria in the gut, including F-prau. Now, F-prau is a key producer of butyrate. Now, nuclear factor kappa B is a regulator of cell responses, including the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines. And polyphenols, butyrate, and F-prau can all inhibit NF-kappa B to reduce inflammation. Butyrate, we know, also has many other important functions, such as providing energy to the colon epithelial cells. It can improve barrier integrity, influence the production of those antimicrobial peptides, the defensins, and can also stimulate the production of mucus. So it's a really important compound. And also F-prau can also affect inflammation in other ways. For example, by stimulating the production of anti-inflammatory cytokines. It can produce shikimic acid, which suppresses pro-inflammatory cytokine production. Can also produce salicylic acid, which through COX-2 inhibits the production of pro-inflammatory prostaglandins. And it can also produce raffinose, which reduces or improves gut permeability. And of course, on top of this, we know that Livaux can support the digestive system by improving bowel movements, which is great for our overall health as well. So just to sum up, through the direct action of gold kiwifruit polyphenols and vitamins, as well as the indirect actions of the kiwifruit dietary fibre like the pectin and the polyphenols, which are fermented by colonic microbiota, which promote the growth of beneficial microbes and the production of the short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, Livaux may help to support a healthy immune system to ameliorate the symptoms of colds and flus. So thank you all for your time. That's it from me. I'll hand you back over to Elizabeth for the Q&A.
Right. Well, thank you, Emma. That was a good presentation and very interesting to know that 70% of the immune system is in the gut, and we do have some questions here. I'm just going to read the first one here. How long does it take to see or feel improvement in cold and flu symptoms after taking Livaux?
Okay, so how long it takes, after taking Livaux, right?
Yes.
So Livaux helps to support your body's natural defenses, which will help to shorten the duration and reduce the severity of symptoms. So we would recommend that you take Livaux throughout the winter months to help support your body's immune system during that time. For example, the clinical study in the elderly, which they took on a daily basis over the winter period, what they found was the duration of a sore throat, for example, was reduced from 5.4 to 2 days. So you could expect to see results in only a few days.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And I think there's a couple of questions all related to the studies, okay? So right. This one here is, will taking Livaux at the early stage of cold and flu help reduce the symptoms? And why or why not will it do that? Right.
So yes, potentially. So the studies conducted, as I mentioned, were more of a prophylactic in nature. So ideally you'd want to take it over that long term to see the real benefits, but the components from Livaux will be digested reasonably quickly as it moves through the digestive tract, and then you'll absorb those nutrients, and so they'll therefore go on to affect the body soon after. And also if you do get a cold and flu, actually is because Livaux is a natural product, a consumer could easily increase their dosage to provide the extra support to the immune system if they did develop any symptoms and they wanted to give themselves an extra boost.
Okay, that's great. So you talked about dosage earlier. So what is the recommended dosage for cold and flu?
So we recommend that you take 600 milligrams a day for adults, and that can be dropped to 300 milligrams for children. And as again, would recommend taking it on a regular basis.
Right. Okay. So how many? This is asking about the study as well. How many gold kiwi fruits were taken in the study, in both the elderly and the children study?
Yep. So in the elderly, it was 4 whole gold kiwi fruit over the course of the day. So they were able to take it a couple in the morning and some in the evening if they wanted. And then for the children, it was just 2 servings at once, and 2 servings for children. The study was conducted in New Zealand, and the recommended serving size for children is 75 grams. So 2 servings is approximately 150 grams, or 2 small kiwi fruit.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. So this is about FPRA. Does FPRA have a direct effect on immunity?
Yes, so FPRA obviously contributes to homeostasis within the gut, and as I mentioned in the presentation, having a nice balanced gut is really good for making sure the immune system develops properly. It can also directly stimulate the production of anti-inflammatory cytokines, can inhibit NF-kappa B to reduce the pro-inflammatory cytokines. And then also I think the key thing for FPRA is that it is a key producer of butyrate, and butyrate has numerous health benefits, but including anti-inflammatory action. It can improve gut barrier integrity, increase mucus production, and also stimulate defensin production as well.
Yeah, I remember we did a webinar that discussed butyrate as well in the past. So if anyone here is interested, please go check out our past webinars. There's quite a detailed discussion on butyrate. Okay, so this is about IBS, IBD, and leaky gut. So people with IBS, IBD are known to have leaky gut. Does it mean that they have a weakened immune system?
Yes, I think if you recall back to the slide on the leaky gut, if you have a leaky gut, then your immune system can be compromised. It's a lot easier for bacteria, other pathogens and things to get through the epithelial barrier and into your bloodstream. So that does mean that you are more prone to infections and other health concerns. So yeah, those with the IBD, it's one of those chicken egg things. They do think, did the leaky gut come first causing IBS, IBD, or is leaky gut a result? So in either way, it's not a good thing to be having, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it is a chronic issue and difficult one to address. We do have a customer that has formulated Livaux targeting IBS, and that's for the Singapore market, and that's doing well here. So right, okay, so this is more a question from me, and I think this is just a good time to update everyone about the patent for Livaux, what it covers, and where we are at, especially with the US patent.
Yep. So for those who don't know, we do have a patent that covers for Livaux, and that is to do with gold kiwi fruit compositions for improving digestive health, including increasing FPRA. And it covers off conditions which are linked to the immune system, such as IBS and IBD. So the patent has gone through national phase filing. In most markets, it's under examination at the moment, but it was recently granted in the US. So we're really, yeah, it seems to be doing really well and should be getting some more grants coming through in the near future.
It's great. Right. So I think we're up on time, and well, everyone, thank you for your participation. And if you have more questions, you can always email it to Emma or myself, and we will make sure to get the answers back to you. So thank you, Emma. Thank you for your time. It's a good presentation. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.